Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Attack on Titan 2 for the Nintendo Switch. This title was sent to me by Koei Tecmo so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it. Now, for those of you that don't know, I actually really enjoyed the first Attack on Titan game. I thought it really portrayed the action that take place in the series and translated it really well into a gameplay setting from just a pure gameplay perspective. The exception is that naturally it takes a little bit more in the actual series for you to take down a Titan, whereas in the Attack on Titan game, I was kind of like taking them down by the thousands at some point, which was a little bit ridiculous. But as you guys know, the team that works on the Warriors series, so the Muzu games, these are the same guys that worked on Attack on Titan, so a little bit of exaggeration is kind of like expected, so you can kind of expect to kill a lot more Titans than you actually see dying throughout the series. But then again, it's like killing the Titans themselves felt very visceral, and it's like, because you'd figure, you know, I'm taking down this big monster, and usually whenever you're taking down big monsters, like, okay, so I have to first attack this part, and then that part, and then this. And it's like in here, you can literally, on a lot of these Titans, just straight up go for the nape of the neck and instantly kill them, which I always thought was really cool, that you could basically take these Titans down super fast, depending on which Titan it is, naturally, because then you have certain variations of Titans that require a little bit more effort, require to take down specific parts before you can actually target the nape of the neck, and, you know, more mechanics get introduced as you play more and more of the game. So basically what I'm trying to say is I really enjoyed the first one, and the second one, when they announced it, I was like, this is pretty much a no-brainer. I definitely want to play this game when it comes out. And finally, I'm going to be talking about it and telling you guys my opinions after having played it for quite some time. So when it comes to the visual front, naturally you can expect the visuals to not look super impressive when compared to its counterparts on the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, or the PC. I mean, it is a Nintendo Switch at the end of the day, but does it look adequate enough for something that you can actually play on the go? And that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to inspect the Nintendo Switch version, because I wanted to see how good the port is. Now, from a visual standpoint, I think it looks all right. I mean, it doesn't look particularly impressive or anything when you are in undocked mode, so when you're playing it in portable mode, handheld. I didn't feel like the visuals were super impressive, but what impressed me was how well it actually translated from a handheld into docked mode. It actually looked reasonably good in docked mode. I mean, I was positively surprised because it actually looks like it's 1080p. It's running at a really decent frame rate, even though it does slow down when a lot of stuff is happening. Like you'll probably see throughout the video that I'm showing, you will probably see a couple of slowdowns when the thing is really busy, like when you have 6 people surrounding a Titan flying all around it. And you will also see some pop-ins, like sometimes you'll be able to target different parts of a Titan before the actual Titan renders in place. That is the kind of like graphical shortcomings that you can expect. But does it really hamper your experience? In my opinion, not so much, because by the time that I'm ready to attack the Titan, I can usually see him, so that's not a big problem. I mean, I think everybody understands at this point that whenever you put a certain game on the Switch, you're going to have to make certain concessions, and in this case, there's definitely a couple of visual concessions here. I think the game is probably going to look a lot better on PS4, even though I didn't get to test that specific version, but I think it looks good enough for a portable version, in my opinion. And again, I was positively surprised by how good it looked when I put it on the TV. So, you know, good points for that. In terms of sounds and stuff like that, I mean, it sounds perfect. It sounds fine. I didn't really detect any particular issues when it came to sounds. So now let's talk about the gameplay, which is something that I find very important. Now, they changed quite a few things around in the gameplay if you played the previous game. Even though a lot of the things are going to feel familiar, like grappling onto a Titan and attacking the Titan itself, a lot of things are going to feel somewhat different, because I don't know how far some of you guys might have played the previous Attack on Titan, but the way that I personally did it was I would attach onto the Titans, right? And before I would actually attack them, I would boost away from them to kind of like gain some more distance, to allow my character to charge up its attacks all the way before I actually got to the Titan, and then deliver a really beastly blow. Now, the problem is that doesn't really work like that anymore. And I was super surprised because I'm like, I instantly went back to my old ways. I'm like, hey, grapple onto Titan, boost the weight to gain distance. The second I boosted the weight, it like detached itself from the Titan. I was like, whoa, 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 this is different. So I don't know. I still don't know exactly which is the best way to take down Titans. I've been playing the game for about 5-6 hours, something like that. I don't know if boosting towards the Titan is the most efficient way now or not. I've kind of been experimenting using that and actually not even boosting at all, just kind of like grappling on, then moving away, positioning myself, and then going for the nape of the neck. And it feels different is what I can tell you about that system. And even having put 6 hours into it, it still feels quite a bit different. Like, you need to understand, I played quite a bit of the original, and I was totally used to just like, oh, boost away, and now come right back in, like elastic almost. So that feels very different. And then on top of that, they added a couple of new mechanics like the sneak attack. So there's actually a mechanic now where if you can see a Titan before the Titan can actually see you, you can press your right trigger button, and it basically pulls out this monocle that he looks through to the Titan, and that enables you to do a sneak attack. If you can look onto the Titan long enough time, aim it in the general direction of the neck, and then you press X, and your character begins like this super attack, which consumes a lot of gas, by the way, so be careful if you're trying to do this particular attack. But basically it can one-shot most Titans. I think all of the sneak attacks that I've done so far pretty much just like one-shot the Titan. Then again, I haven't really tried one-shotting like large abnormals. Those are usually like the big bosses that you will encounter. So I don't know if those are possible or not. But anyway, sneak attack mechanic is actually pretty cool. Gives you naturally those big kind of almost cutscene-like animations that you can see your character go in there and just like slash up the Titan. So those are pretty cool. It's a new mechanic. And then another new mechanic that is in there is after you stay for a while around the Titan, if you haven't killed him yet, the Titan's going to become aware of your presence, and he's going to start like a mad dash trying to get you. And whereas I kind of felt that the previous game was really easy, on this one, like when they start running after you, you know, it gets a little bit complicated because you really have to maneuver appropriately, and you're probably going to get grabbed, and that's going to like discount you a little bit. Because if you guys don't know, you get scored based on how efficiently you dispatch Titans, right? So if a Titan grabs you, that kind of deducts a couple of points. So all of this uses that Japanese point system that you always get on a lot of these Japanese games. So you're going to be rated depending on how well you perform throughout a mission. So if you want to really get the maximum score, you really want to avoid actually getting grabbed by Titans. But yeah, you know, overall the mechanics are going to feel similar, but at the same time they introduced quite a few new things. There's also the fact that now you can actually build these towers which will automatically fire upon the Titans, or you can actually build your own supply locations so that you're not always dependent on the different supply areas that they would give you in previous assignments, in the previous game, I mean. And you guys might be wondering, what do you mean supplies? Like, well, very much like in the series, you have blade supplies as well as gas supplies. So the more Titans you take down, your blades will begin to get dull, and therefore you will have to recharge your blades and change them out. Same thing with your gas. Your gas goes away, so you'll have to swap in gas. And you have to always be aware of all of these things, because you know that when you're running out of gas, you want to go buy a supply station and make sure that you resupply, because basically running out of gas in the middle of a fight is a serious problem, because you're not going to be able to move as effectively. Like, your whole character just kind of slows down. And speaking of slowing down, how does the movement feel? Well, in my opinion, the first one felt great, because basically you have two things that you can do. You're going to press, which button is it? It's the Y button on the Switch controller. You're going to press the Y button, and your character essentially, it almost like automatically detects places where it can hook its omnidirectional movement gear, and your character just kind of like will swing around almost like Spider-Man, or like the characters of Attack on Titan naturally, but you know, Spider-Man is just a very easy comparison to do. That is going to use up your gas, and then you can also press the B button to actually use up like a gas boost, where a character can actually just like dash forward. Now, you can't always use this, which is why the game in the past used horses. I haven't gotten to that particular point in this game yet, but I believe the mechanics are going to be the same. You're going to be able to summon horses whenever you can't actually use your omnidirectional gear. But the movement itself still feels great. I felt like it felt really good in the previous one. It doesn't change in this one. As a matter of fact, I kind of think that some of the changes that they did, which allow you to actually remain locked onto the Titan while still swinging around, it feels like it's an improvement, because I seem to remember that on the previous one, whenever I wanted to get away from a Titan, I would have to actually unlock. So you can kind of like lock into Titans. I would have to like unlock from Titan, move away, and then lock back in to re-engage. In this one, you can kind of like move around the Titan using the omnidirectional gear without necessarily removing the lock-on. So that feels a little bit better, but I haven't completely gotten used to it yet. So there's a lot of minor changes like that, but overall it still feels pretty solid, both from movement as well as gameplay. But not everything is good news, because from one point I'm like, okay, so the game still feels solid. It feels very similar to the first one from a gameplay perspective, even though they've introduced all of these new mechanics and all of these new things. But ultimately, feeling that similar to the previous one, it means it still carries the same flaws. Like, I'm pretty sure this is probably the same engine. At least it feels exactly like the same engine that we previously had. And for those of you that aren't aware, there were some serious problems with certain situations where Titans just wouldn't know how to behave appropriately. So like sometimes you'll just see a Titan going through a house and it will glitch all over the place. It will cause like your squad to fall down. It will cause you to fall down. As a matter of fact, you might even see it on a couple of occasions here, like Titans glitching all over the place. That happens. That still happens. And that was one of the things that I really wanted them to fix for Attack on Titan 2, is to not have Titans do all those crazy jerky things. Like sometimes you'll see a Titan leap forward just like completely insane, and you're like, well, that's adequate. It happens in the anime. And I'm like, yes. And in the anime, he might crash into a house or something, and they will draw the scene appropriately in the anime. Whereas here, sometimes they'll crash into a house and then they'll start glitching all over the place and trampling themselves all over the place. It gets weird, is what I'm saying. Particularly when you have Eren coming in, transforming himself into a Titan, and then punching the other Titans around. Then it gets even weirder, which was the same case in the previous one. So basically it brings all of the jank that you had in the first Attack on Titan. That's also present on this one, which in a way is a little bit disappointing. Like, I expected some of that stuff at least to be polished up. Like, even on one of the quests that I had, at one point I had a large abnormal, which was a boss, which is particularly challenging because you actually have to attack certain parts of his body. And this Titan managed to wedge himself in between two buildings, essentially making it impossible for me to hook onto him and actually attack him. And the big problem with that is that the buildings didn't really register that there was a Titan there. So the buildings themselves didn't get destroyed, and the Titan was just like glitching itself in the middle of those two buildings, making it almost impossible for me to basically take out that Titan. I was trying to like go through different angles, trying to like enter that specific space between the two buildings, and it was just, again, it's just jank, you know? There is jank in there, the same jank that you've experienced in the first one. You can expect to experience that in this one. And talking about things that you've experienced in the first Attack on Titan, if you didn't play the first one, you don't have to have played it in order to understand the story, because essentially you're going to be going through the same story. Except this time around, instead of playing as one of the main characters from the cast, you get to actually create your own soldier, and then you join the main cast in the series. So your character is basically playing along the side of the main cast, so you'll be able to interact with characters like Reiner, Mikasa, Eren, Armin. You'll be able to interact with all these characters and play alongside them, but you're kind of like a side character, and you're experiencing all of the story through the eyes of the side character. As a matter of fact, a lot of the cutscenes, you're actually experiencing them from first-person view from your own character, which is interesting in a way, without a doubt, but ultimately it doesn't change the fact that, you know, we're playing through Season 1 again. And I'm not sure how deep this actually goes into Season 2, because like I said, at this point, I'm only 6 hours in, because I'm super busy with a lot of other videos that I'm working on, and I just wanted to give you guys my opinions. But you know, it's one of those things. Some people are going to be like, but I've already played the story of the first one with all these other characters, so what's the point? You know, it's going to be up to you. Personally, I would still play it, and more importantly, you've never gotten to play the first one on Nintendo Switch, so the Nintendo Switch version, in my opinion, is probably the better one to get because you're going to be getting something that you get to play on the go. And most likely, if you own the Nintendo Switch, you might not have played the first one yet because it's not available on Nintendo Switch and it wasn't available on Wii U or 3DS or anything like that. So you might have not played the first game, and therefore you get to experience that whole story again. Now, for me, this is not a big turnoff because I enjoy the series, so it's fine. I don't mind playing through the same story all over again because you still have new mechanics and new things, and now you're actually playing with a character that is yours, and there's like skills that you can equip and all of these different things. So there's a little bit more customization to it. You actually get to paint the colors of your character and stuff like that. But I know that for some people it's going to be a problem that you're essentially going to be going through the same story before you actually get into Season 2 stuff. So, just be warned that that stuff is there. Another gameplay thing that they've emphasized a whole lot more this time around is your squad. Whereas previously I only ever really felt the need to utilize squad mechanics with Armin. As a matter of fact, I think Armin was the only character that could utilize squad mechanics. It's been a while since I played the first Attack on Titan, so bear with me if I'm a little bit wrong on that. But I remember only ever requesting other people to attack the Titan when I was playing with Armin. Well, this time around, they're going to basically unlock that ability from the get-go, and you're actually going to be using that a lot because it helps you out, particularly in boss fights. Because, I mean, sure, you can just play your own character and not care at all about that particular mechanic. But if you're playing on the higher difficulty levels, you're going to take a while to actually take some of these Titans down, particularly some of the large abnormals. So having access to your squad abilities and being able to command them like, hey, attack this thing, attack that thing is actually pretty useful. Particularly if you also want to get like the extra materials, because you can get extra materials by chopping legs at some point or chopping arms at some point. And you can just send your squad like, hey, go over here, chop this arm. Hey, go over there, chop that leg. And you can kind of like organize yourself that way. Like you'll do some things, you'll send your squad to do the other things, and it's all good. But basically there's a lot more emphasis in that particular mechanic. As a matter of fact, at some point I was trying out the other mode that the game has, which the game has a story mode, and then it has another mode, which is called another mode. And the another mode is essentially like the online mode. You can also play it offline if you want to. But basically there you actually get to play with the characters of the series. So you can play as Mikasa, Eren, you can play as Levi, you can play as any of the characters that you want so long as you unlock them in the story already, because as you play through story mode, you gradually unlock more characters that you can then play in another mode. Now, another mode it works a little bit similar to what you've come to expect from, like, let's say, the old Monster Hunter games, where kind of like you have this lobby, and then you select the mission, and then you go into that mission, you complete that mission, you return to the lobby, except instead of being hunting monsters, you're hunting titans. And you will get materials and stuff that will allow you to upgrade your gear and will allow you to level up these different characters. And while I was trying out that mode, I was able to perform like this super special attack with Mikasa and Levi, where they both just attacked the Titan. I was like, oh wow, I haven't unlocked that in story mode. And it was just like this crazy looking animation while we were slashing up this Titan. I was like, oh, that looked really cool. So there's still a couple of mechanics that I haven't experienced yet, but overall, personally, I really like it. I mean, but I'm biased because I tend to enjoy this particular game. So whether or not you're going to like it is going to depend on, did you play the first one? Did you like the first one? If you haven't played the first one, then I would definitely advise you to check it out because you're going to be experiencing the story for the first time. I mean, it's essentially the same story that you've experienced in the anime if you watch the anime, but you're going to be playing through that story. And it's like, if you haven't played it before, it's still going to be fun, and it's got all these new mechanics, and it's got the another mode. You also have multiplayer that you can play with your friends and stuff like that, so it is definitely fun. If you've played the first one, you just have to be warned that essentially the story mode has a large chunk of the same story that you played through the first one. You're just experiencing it through a different character, so bear that in mind. But still, if you enjoyed it, chances are you're probably going to still enjoy it. But me personally, I really like the fact that it is on the Switch because I can basically play it on the go. And you guys know me, I love the Nintendo Switch. I mean, I'm biased. I'm a fanboy. Call me whatever the hell you want. I really like that console. I like playing it as I'm on the go. So to me, it made a lot of sense having that on the Nintendo Switch. So there you go. I mean, should you play it? Do you like the gameplay that you're watching in the background? you probably should play it then. Do you not like the gameplay? Did you not like the first one? If you didn't like the first one, this one's probably not going to do it for you, okay? But if you did like the first one, then you might want to check this one out as well. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you thought about the video in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.